If you want to know how to meet your dog's biological needs so that they can be a better behaved dog and you can get more out of your training, you are in the right place. Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a dog trainer and I'm currently studying to become a clinical canine behaviourist. And in this mini-series that I've titled Meeting Your Dog, we're going to go over each of your dog's intrinsic needs, their hierarchy of needs, so that we can have better behaved dogs and live the lives that we have always dreamt of living with them. If you weren't here for part one, I will link that in the cards up here. We essentially looked at what the hierarchy of needs are for dogs, and then in the next few videos what we're going to be doing is looking at how we can implement that into our everyday lives. This first video is about our dog's biological needs. So what are biological needs for a dog? Biological needs for any animal is their basic needs. It's the things that they need to survive. I bet a lot of you are already meeting these needs for your dog. Actually, I think probably all of you are meeting these needs for your dog, because otherwise the RSPCA would be at your door. This is basic things like having food, shelter, a safe place to stay. So yes, majority of owners are meeting these needs for our dogs. However, we might not be doing it in a way that our dogs actually need. Just a quick example before I go into detail. Things like their diet. We might be feeding them food, but it might not be the right food for them. We might have a crate for our dog, but they don't actually feel safe in that crate, which means they have no safe space. I am going to take you from top to bottom of things we can do to help meet our dog's biological needs. This will be quite a bit of information, but do not fret. We have a downloadable link in the description below where you can just sign up with your email address, and I will send you a tick list of things that you need to make sure your dog has to have their biological needs met. We have quite a few different categories when it comes to meeting our dog's biological needs. The first thing we're going to look at is vet care. There are a couple of things that you should be getting regularly from your vet. A simple health check visit, which we're going to get into more detail in a second. Things like flea treatment if they have fleas, and worm counts so you know if you need to worm them. Pain management if necessary, and something called teeter testing, which can help test if your dog actually needs vaccinations. Some vets won't like this, but I think it's great to test your dog's immunity to see whether they need those vaccinations. So we know we should be taking our dogs to the vet, but we don't know what we need to be asking for or what we're seeking in checkups. Now, first of all, how often should checkups be? I would say for any young dog, it should be every 6 months, and any very old dog every 6 months. Anywhere in between, for a dog that has no health issues that you think everything's okay with, you can probably go annually, just like you kind of go for your own MOT. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we want our vets to be checking when it comes to our dogs so we can meet their biological needs. I wasn't entirely sure how to label this, so I've labeled it basic body check, outer body check, and internal body check. One of the first things your vet will look at when they're doing a basic body check of your dog is their eyes. They will usually check ocular reflexes, do a cataract assessment, and a retinal and cornea examination. Next is the ears. Your vet will just usually look at their ear canal. Then we have skin, coat, and grooming. The vet's going to be looking for dry patches, anywhere your dog is itching, and any changes in the coat. This does also include basic grooming care, making sure your dog is not matted, making sure that you can take a fine-tooth comb through their coat if you have a curly coated dog is all really, really important. If your dog has pain in their body, it can change their coat. So look for that. Next we have nails. The majority of dogs' nails should be short enough that they don't touch the floor. Next we have teeth. Vets will usually give a teeth and gingivitis rating. And finally, their anal glands. Your dog's probably going to have their anal glands released. Fun. Now we have your dog's outer body. One of the best things you can do yourself is check your dog's body temperature regularly. When you know your dog's base body temperature, if they're not well, you're going to know a lot quicker than someone who doesn't know what their dog's average body temperature is. Next, we're going to look at body score. Now, this is your dog's weight score, how good their condition is. Some vets will do this from 1 to 9 or 1 to 5. Either way, you want your dog to be somewhere in the middle. Your dog's body score is a huge indicator of their health. You know there is an epidemic of overweight dogs in this country. Ask your vet for a body score and create a plan to help your dog lose weight if you are in this position with your dog. Next, we have reflexes and a gait analysis. This is basically looking at your dog's movement and seeing how well they move. Any dog that is showing lameness, some vets will give a lameness score, with 1 being hardly lame at all and a 10 being really quite lame. Lame meaning they can't put any weight on it or they're walking a bit funny. That's what lame means. I want to say this now to make it very, very clear. If your dog ever, and I mean ever, trotting along, they do a little hop, or they refuse to jump on and off things, or maybe they growl when you touch a certain part of their body, there is a high chance they are experiencing pain. And you have to have like the eyes in the back of your head sometimes to be able to notice this. If you're not sure and you see your dog hopping once or twice, take note of when it happens. write down the onset, so when it starts and how long it lasts, the frequency, how many times they do it, and take this information with you to your vet. It will help so much in diagnosing what the issue could be. And then finally, we have neurological checks. This is just making sure the brain and the body are working together at the same time. Now we have the internal checks that your vet can be doing with your dog. Number one is the heart rate and the respiratory rate. Again, if you can know your dog's average heart rate and respiratory rate, if you can sit and time it and count them just for a minute, do that over a couple of weeks so you know what the average rate is. If your dog becomes ill and you can take that information to your vet, they will love you, trust me. And then most vets will also check your dog's lungs. They will do organ palpitations and check their lymph nodes as well. If you're still having issues with your dog and you think it might be related to their body, which I'm going to say a lot of issues are, yes, even behavioural ones, you can get blood work done. You will have to get different blood tests done to test different things. It's not just one blood test to test them all. And then you could also get their urine or feces checked. Again, different tests tell you different things. You might have to get more than one test done. When it comes to visiting our vet and meeting the biological needs of our dogs, what we're really looking at is freedom from pain. That is the need of which we're meeting when we look at all of these things for our dogs. If you are struggling with reactivity or your dog's behaviour and you have trained and nothing's helping, I implore you to go to your vet with a list of things that you want checked. The next biological need we're going to be looking at is diet and nutrition. First thing you can do is to look at your dog's body score. Look at what the vet scored your dog and work from there. Hugely related to diet is your dog's skin and ears. If you're having any issues with their skin, if they have hot spots, itchy spots, pain in their ears, get regular ear infections, for the most part, it's connected to their diet. Now, this is a fun one. Take a look at their poo, the consistency of it, how often they poo. This is all information that will help tell you if their diet is working for them. Under diet and nutrition also comes a dog's safety when they're eating. How safe do they feel when they're eating? Do they have a safe space to eat? That's also really important. Finally, is your dog actually eating? How much of their food are they leaving? Do you free feed? I really recommend you stop doing that if you are. Doesn't help with training. It does not help with training. But if your dog regularly is not finishing their food, you're either feeding them too much or they don't enjoy it. They should get to enjoy their food, just like we should. Okay, next is sleep and rest. First thing we have to look at is how our dogs are sleeping. Do they sleep through the night? Most dogs should sleep all the way through the night. Next is how long they are sleeping. Between 50 and 20 hours a day, depending on your dog's breed, their energy levels, and how old they are. And remember, they should be getting deep sleep as well. They shouldn't just be resting. It should be a sleep. Not for the whole time, but they should be getting REM sleep. And this goes on to our next point. Are they resting in between their deep sleeps? And finally, can they self-regulate themselves into sleeping? So they don't need you there to help them fall asleep. That is super important, especially if you work out of the home or you want to be able to leave them alone. We want them to be able to self-regulate themselves into falling asleep. If you're struggling with your dog's sleep and rest, I highly recommend implementing a calming protocol. There's an amazing video by Susan Garrett, which I will link below or up here, that you can go and watch, that will help you get your dog to a place of being able to self-regulate so that they can sleep. And we have safety and predictability. Essentially, this is two things. Number one, can't interact with other animals or people that cause them psychological or physical harm. And number two, minimal exposure to acute or chronic stressors. Is your dog constantly stressed? And finally, we have their movement. They're able to move without pain. Do you know what the signs of pain in a dog look like? They have the opportunity to run around and increase their heart rate daily. Do they have the opportunity to go outside? That is a really, really important one. And finally, do they have an appropriate amount of exercise for their age, breed, weight, and health status? Some research has shown that 2 hours of continuous movement really helps dogs to live longer and healthier lives. So if you wanted to implement that, I would not complain. I would not be complaining. In fact, I encourage it. So those are the biological needs of our dogs, and we need to be meeting those needs. Some of those needs we need to be meeting every single day, like making sure they're not experiencing pain, making sure they have food, access to water. Some of the other ones we might not need to do every single day, but we need to do majority of the time. Remember, this is the bottom of that triangle of the hierarchy of needs. So most of these things we need to be doing most of the time. An example of something you might not need to do every day, but you need to do 90% of the time, is making sure they have some outside time. I know I said this a lot on this channel, and in general, but I truly believe that if you are having chronic struggles with your dog's behavior, they probably have an unmet biological need. And you go through this cycle of things being good and then things being awful. Our dog's behavior becomes cyclical like that. I really do think most of the time is because they have less pain and then they have an increase of pain because they feel fine and then things flare up and they're struggling again, just like anybody else who experiences chronic pain. If you gained anything from this video, I would be very grateful if you could like and subscribe. Don't forget, you can download the sheet that will take you through all the things that you need to meet your dog's biological needs. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time. Bye.